This is Optimal Startup Daily, episode 400. This is How to Repair a Toxic Work Culture by Nir Eyal of NirAndFar.com. And I'm Dan. Welcome back to Optimal Startup Daily, or welcome for the very first time if you are new here, if you're just discovering us. This is the podcast where I read to you from some of the best blogs on entrepreneurship. And we're going to get right to it as we hear from Nir Eyal and start optimizing your life. This is How to Repair a Toxic Work Culture by Nir Eyal of NirAndFar.com. When Harvard's Leslie Perlow began to study the Boston Consulting Group, she was well aware of the firm's round-the-clock reputation. After conducting interviews with BCG's staff, Perlow found that this reputation was coming at a major cost. Employees were leaving the elite consulting firm, in part because they lacked control over their schedules. To address the issue, Perlow offered a simple proposition. If everyone who worked at BCG hated the always-on lifestyle, why not try to give consultants at least a single predictable night off a week? This would give people time away from phone calls and email notifications and allow them to make plans without the fear of being pulled back into work. Perlow ran the idea by George Martin, the managing partner of BCG's Boston office. He told her to keep her hands off his team. He gave her permission to wander around the office and look for another partner who might be willing. Perlow found a young partner named Doug, who had 2 small children at home and a third on the way. Doug was struggling to balance his own work life and agreed to let his team serve as guinea pigs in Perlow's experiment. Starting with Doug and the people he managed, Perlow began to study how the team found a way to let everyone unplug from the job. First, Perlow confirmed that 1 night off per week was a universally desired goal for everyone on the team. After hearing a resounding yes, the team was left to figure out exactly how they would achieve that goal. The team met regularly to discuss roadblocks that were preventing them from achieving the 1 night off mission and came up with practices they need to incorporate to make it happen. For years, BCG consultants had heard countless reasons why they had to be accessible at all hours. We're in the service business. We work across time zones. And what if a client needs us? Were common responses. However, once they had an opportunity to openly discuss the problem, Doug's team discovered there were many simple solutions. A common workplace dilemma, often dismissed as the way things had to be, could be addressed if people had a safe space to talk about the issue. The meetings yielded far greater benefits than Perlow had expected. Participants began to address topics well beyond how to disconnect for 1 night a week. In Perlow's words, discussing predictable time off made it okay for people to speak openly, which was a big deal. There was no taboo, one consultant said. You could talk about anything. The senior members of the team, quote, did not always agree, but it was okay to bring anything up, end quote. Managers also found a venue to explain their objectives, items that had previously been brushed aside when things got busy. And team members felt more empowered now that they had a clearer vision of how they work related to broader goals. Distraction is a sign of dysfunction. Embracing Perlow's challenge helped the team reconsider why they couldn't disconnect from work. Rather than blaming technology for their problems, the teams reflected on the reasons behind its overuse. What began as a challenge to find a way to let members of one team disconnect 1 night per week profoundly changed the working culture at BCG. Today, teams throughout the firm, including George Martin's Boston office, conduct regular meetings to ensure everyone has time to disconnect. More importantly, these meetings create a safe space for dialogue about all sorts of issues, increasing employees' sense of control and improving job satisfaction and staff retention. The secret to great workplace culture. Companies often confuse the disease of bad culture with symptoms like tech overuse and high employee turnover. Treating these symptoms often involves examining and addressing how teams work together. Google recently set out to understand the drivers of employee retention and positive team outcomes. The search giant announced the results of a 2-year study to understand, once and for all, the answer to the question, what makes a Google team effective? Heading into the study, the research team was fairly confident of what they would find, that teams are most effective when they are composed of great people. As Julia Rozovsky, a researcher on the project, wrote, quote, take 1 Rhodes Scholar, 2 extroverts, 1 engineer who rocks at AngularJS, and a PhD. Voila, dream team assembled, right? We were dead wrong, end quote. What did they actually discover? The individuals on a team matter less than how those team members interact, structure their work, and view their contributions. The antidote to a toxic work culture. The researchers found, quote, 5 key dynamics that set successful teams apart, end quote, including dependability, structure and clarity, meaning, and impact. However, Rozovsky said, far and away the most important of the 5 dynamics we found, the underpinning of the other 4, was something called psychological safety. Rozovsky continued, quote, individuals on teams with higher psychological safety are less likely to leave Google. They're more likely to harness the power of diverse ideas from their teammates. They bring in more revenue, and they're rated as effective twice as often by executives, end quote. The term psychological safety was coined by Amy Edmondson, an organizational behavioral scientist at Harvard. Edmondson defines psychological safety as, quote, a belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes, end quote. Speaking up sounds easy, but if you don't feel psychological safety, you'll keep your concerns and ideas to yourself. Rozovsky continues, quote, turns out we're all reluctant to engage in behaviors that could negatively influence how others perceive our competence, awareness, and positivity. Although this kind of self-protection is a natural strategy in the workplace, it is detrimental to effective teamwork. On the flip side, the safer team members feel with one another, the more likely they are to admit mistakes, to partner, and to take on new roles, end quote. Psychological safety is the antidote to unhealthy work environments and a toxic work culture. It's also the magic ingredient BCG discovered when they began regular meetings to give employees predictable time off. How does a team or a company create psychological safety? Edmondson provides a 3-step answer in her TEDx talk. Step 1, quote, frame the work as a learning problem, not an execution problem, end quote. Because the future is uncertain, emphasize that, quote, we've got to have everyone's brains and voices in the game, end quote. Step 2. Edmondson says, acknowledge your own fallibility. Managers need to let people know that no one has all the answers, that we're in this together. And step 3. Finally, Edmondson suggests that leaders must, quote, model curiosity and ask lots of questions, end quote. Edmondson insists that organizations, particularly those operating in conditions of high uncertainty and interdependence among team members, need to keep motivation levels and psychological safety in good working order, a state she calls the learning zone. When teams are in the learning zone, they perform at their best and air concerns without fear of being attacked or fired. They can solve problems like tech overuse and distraction without being judged as unwilling to carry their share. You just listened to the post titled, This is How to Repair a Toxic Work Culture by Nir Eyal of NirAndFar.com. Now, if you have any kind of online presence, you should know already that compliance is non-negotiable, and thankfully, Leica makes the entire compliance process simple. Leica goes beyond integrations. Their platform connects to your everyday applications and applies actual human expertise to a robust software that powers your compliance. Leica easily connects to your applications and instantly creates tailored policies based on your business. Then, compliance experts guide you through automated workflows designed to help you conquer certifications like SOC 2, HIPAA, and GDPR. Leica is the only compliance platform that offers a true integrated audit solution. No more messy spreadsheets and miscellaneous audit documents. Their team of experts manage your audit from beginning to end with full progress tracking through the app. And Leica is more than just a one-time solution. Maintain 100% confidence in your compliance program with custom monitors and alerts. Now, compliance has been a huge stressor for our team as the rules constantly change, and Leica takes away that pain. You have to see it for yourself. As an Optimal Startup Daily listener, you get 20% off when you join. Visit heyleica.com/OSD to get their exclusive deal. That's heylaika.com/OSD to request a demo and get 20% off when you sign up with Leica. And thank you to Nir, which by the way is spelled N-I-R, just like his site. He has so many qualifications that it's hard to list them all, but I'll name just a few. He holds a degree from Stanford Graduate School of Business, has sold multiple companies, taught at 2 different schools at Stanford. He's a best-selling author, and I'm going to try, by the way, to read from his amazing book on a later episode. And he's got an excellent blog you should check out, which is actually where I'm reading from today. And again, that is at NirAndFar.com, NirAndFar.com. For more insights on using psychology to change behavior, you can join Nir's newsletter and receive a free workbook at NirAndFar.com. And we thank him so much for letting us share his work for years now. But that's going to do it for today's show. Thanks for being here on this 400th episode of the show. We, of course, could not have made it this far without you. So have a great rest of your day, and I'll be back here with you tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.